Hello, this is Wayne Barboza for CapeVerdean.net. Today we have the president of the Rhode Island First Fatherhood. He's going to be giving us a little second phase to the video we put out earlier this year, Corey's death. We're speaking about a fusion center, at least we suspect it to be a very important part of the Homeland Security and what's going on in government in Providence, Rhode Island. Today we're going to talk about all the subjects that concern Providence, Rhode Island and their area, and basically deal with the hopelessness that's going on with the fathers and the men that are unemployed now, and the movement that is taking place, the Occupy Wall Street and all the recent protests going on in the nation. All right, so Steve, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, you want to pick up from there?
Well, yeah. Well, we could definitely go back to the Corey situation and the things that led up to him going to actually jumping out of 9 floors to his death. I mean, what you're saying exactly of what's going on all around us right now. Now, there's so many things going on around us, and he was catching all of that because he was a part of all of that.
Well, hold up. You mean so much going around all of that? Now, Crossroad is a homeless center, right?
Yeah.
And it's one. Yeah, tell us.
Yes, First Crossroad is a homeless shelter.
Then tell us a little bit about Crossroads again. Refresh that, because Corey committed suicide, but there were several other incidents as well.
Yeah, there were several other incidents as well, but as far as I could say, Crossroads itself is a shelter, a homeless shelter for some men and mainly women. And but where Corey jumped from was 9 floors, which is part of the towers, a part of HUD, and that's federal, and that's all part of, like you said, Homeland Security.
Okay. That's like a block and a half away from public safety where the police and the fire department is, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And they did all the construction. Matter of fact, most of the construction, I believe in the past 5-10 years anyway, has been the ramps and highway reconstruction right there at Crossroads, isn't it?
Yeah. And the funny thing about that one is it almost seems that if you look at the construction they did on the highways right here at Crossroads itself, it's almost like they could literally block every line of exit off. Of trying to go somewhere on the highway, they can block it off.
I sometimes wonder if that's why they changed the name from what it was before. What was it before? It was YMCA. Right?
YMCA.
Yeah, and then they changed it to Crossroads. And
that's right.
And they put the address on the other side, the most dangerous side of the street.
That's right.
The main door. And and blocked off the door that was on Main Street there, Broad Street, right?
Yeah, blocked off the door on Broad Street, and on Service Road 7, they put the door at the most dangerous place because all the traffic's there, the highway, and everything's just right there. So I think somebody, whatever's going on in their heads, and they get into a fight, and someone gets out of the street, and there's a traffic flow, someone's going right there.
Dangerous. All right, so we're talking several hundred people under this program, right?
Well, now when you get into it, you get in the whole dynamic of it, it's like there's Crossroads, but now on top of Crossroads, like I said, is Travelers Aid Towers. Now where people pay rent for something that looks like a college dormitory and a teeny room, almost like a jail cell, let's say.
Like a jail cell?
Almost like a jail cell. The way it's designed is almost like a jail cell.
Wow.
And so...
But they're not connected as they're two separate agencies?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're two Crossroads and Travelers Aid are two different entities, but they work together. They intermingle together.
All right.
And so, Travelers Aid is up top, and that's where he jumped from, but he was dealing with the same Crossroads people. He was dealing with everybody outside and everybody inside, staff members, and the majority didn't help him anyway.
All right, we established that the Crossroads doesn't create jobs or help the people and everything, but the biggest thing happening there is drugs, right?
Excuse me?
The biggest thing happening there is drugs.
Yes. The very, very biggest thing here happening is drugs. And you're talking about drug trafficking, drug distribution, drug selling, you're talking about prostitution. We even go as far as saying money laundering going on. One in, one other, so to speak. Now that's the biggest thing because I say that's the biggest thing because what's going on now from now the word getting back now from some, let's say some quietly placed sources that are actually in there with the big people who's planning all the stuff going down. Now, what they're planning on doing, working in conjunction with the Providence Police and the state troopers and the FBI, because again, you got to look at it as this is a HUD building, so HUD is Housing and Urban Development, which you know is federally funded. It's a federal program.
Yeah, I think that was under the Justice Department too.
Yes, it's under the Justice Department.
All right.
Now, they now what's happening is the state troopers nor the Providence Police can actually come up in the building and go into people's rooms because they have no warrants, so they can't do that. They can't do that. That's not their jurisdiction because it's federal. But because the top guy who is on the head of the security, let's just call him Person X. I know his name, but let's call him Person X.
Yeah.
He's on the security, and he's the head of security, and he's also I noticed that he had one of these Freemason rings on.
Okay, so he's a Mason.
Yeah, and I like I told you before, I made a coy little joke. I said, "Oh, you part of that club?" He said, "Yeah, we play softball on Sundays." And that's the funniest thing I heard all year.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier. A lot of the Freemasons basically are used in there. They do little social programs to keep it covered, but underneath, underneath they're being manipulated by a lot more intelligent people.
Well, that's what I was getting to. See, if I didn't find out everything, I wouldn't know this much. See, he's working in conjunction, and he's very, very, I say, close to somebody who's on the board of, and he's on the board here at Crossroads, and he's also a state trooper on their board. So what they're working together to do now is they're putting together a proposal so that there can be a whole building search, and all the staff members have to do it. And they have to sign off on this throughout the whole building. All the staff members have to do so. And what they're planning on doing is they're planning on shutting down the outside and the inside, and coming up in the building. They even have certain floors targeted. They even have floors targeted on this one. I mean, there's a floor they're targeting. I already know he's a big weed man. They have that floor targeted, and another person who does the weed thing on that floor targeted. Then they have another floor targeted with a guy, he's selling crack, and he got people lives on. People can yell up to his window. And the guy got a cell phone and a house phone, and nobody calls him.
Wow. So,
And they know.
what I'm getting out of the picture, not only is it a fusion center for the homeless, but there seems to be a lot of money and maneuvering going on with the agencies that's some kind of heart.
Well, here's the thing now. The word is now that Johnson and Wales College has bought this building. Now, see, I had to think about it for a while, and I came to the conclusion that they were making so much money that they weren't going to sell the building until they got a good enough offer. And when they got that good enough offer, they went for the offer because, like I was telling you before previously, that let's say outside of this building, at the beginning of the month, the first through the, let's say, to the 10th, there's outside of this building alone, we stay there a good, my God, $50,000 to $100,000 out there.
Between the tenants.
Between just well, let's say $100,000, and that's just between the homeless.
The homeless.
The homeless who come around there because they're getting SSI checks, they're getting their food stamps, they're getting whatever things, GTA checks, whatever things they're getting that they're supposed to be using for to take care of themselves, to get out of the streets and get away from this crack addiction or this dope addiction or whatever addiction they have. They're using this money to go buy it, and this is like a central location for them to come buy it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Reminds me a lot like how prison works.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's almost like a prison yard out there.
Yeah.
The way it's working. So you got that much money on the outside and funnel inside, because on the inside there's another. I'd say there's $250,000 in the building. With SSI checks and all this other crap.
And now, how does Johnson & Wales buying the building going to affect the tenants and people in that program?
Well, see, this is where it gets a little hazy. Well, not a little hazy. See, what's going on, I think, is that's why they're having us letting everybody come in the building, because they're looking for an excuse to say, okay, we found drugs here, now we can move the people out.
You mean shut it down?
Yes. I think now they have the excuse to shut the place down.
And what would the homeless do?
Well, from what I'm getting, now the people who are in the programs here, who stay in this place for the homeless section of it, and the people who live in the towers, now what I'm gathering is that they have to find housing within HUD areas or HUD housing, because they can't just take those people out into the street.
So
because you're talking almost 300 people.
I mean, this is to me, it's a micro exploitation industry. You know what I mean?
Very much so.
And they're exploiting the already exploited.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much.
So there's. I asked you before about the so-called Wall Street movement there, the Occupy Wall Street and protesting that's going around the country. I know they're having it down at the park there in Providence. And you had mentioned to me that there was no reason for youth people to participate in any of those things because it doesn't help. You want to break that down?
Well, yeah, that doesn't help on the level that where I'm at and where the people are at, and my surroundings and their surroundings, it doesn't help on that level. For the simple fact of, you could go out there and protest all day, but if they're not getting nothing out of it, which means instant gratification, then there and now, then it really doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to them. If they can't smoke it, sniff it, snort it, shoot it, it don't matter.
So everybody there is addicted?
Everybody around here does something. It doesn't matter what it is. They do it.
Well, who would you say is most responsible for the conditions that are there, or the conditions in Providence that lead to having such a program?
I'm not going to sit up in here and say that, oh, let's blame our mayor, let's blame our governor. No. It wasn't the mayor and the governor who did it. It's the people who's... I almost see it as this. I almost see it as there were people who created the whole situation for money and power. Because that's all this over here is about, money and power. That's what it seems like it was created for, the money. They're making so much money, and the power trip that they're on, it makes them like invincible, like they're almost like a god in a sense. It almost illuminates them and makes them a whole new person, so to speak.
Because they're on the inside.
That's right.
All right, so you're talking about people who've been on the inside or connected or part of the structure, embedded and been in there for a long time, huh?
The way it is almost like they haven't been in it for a long time. They've been embedded in it for a long time. So it's like second nature. It's second nature for them to do this and laugh and smile and, yep, I got another one. He's moving in the building. Let's see how much money we can get out of him.
So every time somebody fails, basically, and look for help, that's what they're there for. And yet they make sure there's no jobs and no way they can avoid the debt courts. So they're eventually everybody ends up in debt with no jobs. Go ahead.
And I don't want to cut you off, but the funny thing is almost like this place teaches people how to be lazy and not do for themselves.
Exactly. And I remember we spent several years trying to teach or get involved with showing people how to do things for self with the fatherhood, and we got nothing but help.
No, we got nothing but help. We got nothing but help. I see why we got the help.
Now you see why we was a problem trying to create jobs, because they was all making money and creating their own jobs.
Exactly. See, the way I see it is, every drug dealer that's running around out there, they created a job for him. They created that job for him to sell like crack because they didn't want to really help him. You know? And they knew that was going to happen, so they said, the hell with it. Go ahead and sell these drugs. We're going to sit back and watch you for a little while. Then we're going to call the cops and let the cops come and take your ass for 7 years.
Okay, now, you got to realize that if we're doing a show, you can't be saying the words because public access might not want to put right. But you can't help but to want to swear, you know, because these so-and-sos. Now, what are you, in the street or are you in the house?
Yeah, I'm in my bed.
Okay. Because I notice every time I talk to you on the phone, which is every day, especially when you're reporting stuff, it always seems to be ambulance and police cars going by. Always.
We're in the center of everything. With all the cop cars, because 2 blocks down the street from me is the main Providence police station. 2 blocks down from me is the main Providence fire department. And 2 blocks down to the back side of me is the Rhode Island Hospital. 2 blocks down to the right of me is right in the center of downtown Providence, and 2 blocks up from me is right in the center of South Providence. So the location is almost like how you talk about them ley lines almost.
And a lot of I would say very aggravated vibrations going on in that area.
Exactly.
Broken up vibrations.
The vibrations that they're sending to the area are so negative that everybody's negative. everybody wants somebody to do something for them.
Oh, and you know another thing with the towers that you mentioned, there's a couple around you with the towers and the chemtrails that are spraying all over Providence and in the area. You think that has anything to do with the way people acting down there?
Oh, I think it has so much to do with it, and it impacts it even more. Let me tell you a quick little story. Now, there's a young lady running around there. She's a pretty little young lady, light skinned. She's nothing more than 30, maybe. And this girl is wacko. I mean, when I say wacko, this girl got a big bag of pills for her brain, and she running around back and forth, just talking to herself and being wacko. And she's outside so much that whatever's falling on her, she's getting. And then she's going back there, and the medication that they're giving her to help her, which I really don't think the medication's really helping her, that they're giving her, is not really helping a young lady. She's as black as they come.
Yeah, well, they're letting a lot of people out of the mental institution because they're closing them up. I got family that works with the state, and they've been closing up for years, building after building, and letting these people out in the street. And it's natural you're going to find some of them from, acting that way. But
I mean, I can tell you a million of them now.
Huh?
There's a young, I can tell you a million. There's a young man I know. We call him, he's Jamaican. He has a Jamaican accent, so we call him Jamaica. Now, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, we're outside, we doing the man, we talking, whatever. We coming down the street. He's what, 19 years old. This kid is 19 years old. It's nighttime. And usually he doesn't act like this, but whatever was dropping on him that day, it was raining, pouring rain. He took off his shirts and his coat and his hat, and he's out there screaming, acting crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid's from South Carolina. And this is going, he's only been in the state 2.5 months, and he's going bonkers.
Mm. So you're saying that they weren't that way when they got here?
No. They weren't that way when they got here. 95% of them wasn't that way when they got here.
So you're saying when people get there, they get worse?
They get, whatever they were is magnified by 30.
Well, I can understand. I don't think I could stand in that building with all that craziness going on.
Well, I figured out the way to cope with it. When I feel too much negativity and all the stuff going on, and I can't think and all the things, I leave. I leave for a while, a good while, 6 to 8 to 10 hours. Sometimes I leave for days, sometimes I leave for weeks at a time, maybe months, and I still pay my bill. But I leave so I can get rejuvenated, so when I come back, I'm rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Because this is an energy zapper zone. And if your mind's not strong, yes. Very, very much so. And if your mind's not strong, you're out there. If your mind's not strong, the truth about the matter is you come to this place and your mind's not strong, what's going to happen is you're going to get out there, you're going to meet the wrong person off the rip. So hi, how you doing? Oh, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I like you. Want to smoke some crack with me? I don't know. Okay, boom. There you go. I don't understand how a person's mind could be that susceptible even at the rate we're going.
So, if you had, a choice of some ideas to give to the mayor or the governor or whatever to try to change some of these conditions, what would you do?
Oh man, change some of these conditions?
Yeah.
First, open up some more sober houses.
Sober houses?
First things first.
So you say sober houses, what's that?
Excuse me?
Explain sober houses.
Okay. A place where they can detox or get off or wean off or stay away from whatever drug, alcohol that they're
all right, so you're talking they'd have to be away from the where you at because there's too much craziness there.
Yes.
Right.
See, because the whole breakdown is if you give them a job, they'll work that job, but they still gonna come back here and smoke that money up, and then they ain't gonna be able to work that job tomorrow because they ain't gonna want to go back to that job because they want some more crack and they're saying the hell with the job.
So they'd have to have almost like a inmate or inpatient supervision.
Yes.
That sounds like jobs right there.
Yes, that is jobs.
I know the fatherhood could do some of that mentorship or guidance. Could help out there. Also, do you see anybody up there or any kind of hope whatsoever as far as a way out?
Well, there's a few people that are finding ways out. They say, well, the hell with this. They applied months ago, and now it's starting to come through for them. They're starting to get different apartments outside of here and move outside of here now. They're starting to do all of them things.
Like
they're starting to get out of it.
Like
and
what?
There's a few people homeless that leave, but they come right back.
Because of addiction? Huh?
In a sense, I think they like it because they don't have to do anything. They don't have to pay for nothing. All they have to do is just, do their drug of choice and.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. I feel you. It's just like I said. It's like a prison environment. But you know something I found out not today, but I knew it. But it was on a video today on YouTube where they're not saying it, but 51%, I believe, of the veterans. No, that's what it is. More veterans die at home suicide than they did in the wars. Can you believe that?
That's a crazy one right there.
Yeah, and the state is not doing anything about it. And they're not counting it at the VA because they're discharged. You know what I mean? Or they're not involved with some veteran program, so therefore they're not counted when they say casualties and suicide when they give the national out to the public, on the media. So a lot of the people that are probably getting involved, they might be doing what the soldiers who seem to be coming home with some kind of deadly virus or chip that causes them to commit suicide or a slow kill, where they have nothing but an addiction to self-destruction. You follow where I'm coming from? Now, I know we have the technology because I was looking into it for about 2 or 3 weeks where it could be put into the water. And I showed you a video where these living forms of organisms that are in the water pipes of the cities. Didn't I show you that?
You did show me that.
Yeah, and that's some gross looking thing, man. It looked like something like an alien movie. And not that it might not be something earthly. It might be something coming in with this 2012 shit,
They're talking about the chickens with what they call that, the H something.
Yeah. But see, the whole point I'm making is we have these zombie-like movies and fads and vampires and all this crazy stuff that's been appearing in media and in the movies and even in the music industry, that they have along with the environments of unemployment and hopelessness and stuff. All this stuff seems to me it's part of a program, and the program deals with injections and water and sound frequencies as well as the chemtrails. All these things combined, or a combination of that technology, is basically to get rid of us.
Well, a controlled experiment.
Very controlled, yeah, very controlled. We're coming up on the break now in about 1 minute, so I want you to contemplate while I play this tune and pay off the commercials and stuff, to make sure people will support us and watch us on Thursdays at 5 o'clock on Channel 18 in Providence, Rhode Island, and on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. We're on 4 or 5 times a month.